Timmy.
Andy, happy
We're here. We're doing it.
Happy Victory Monday.
Victory Monday for both of us. Not so much for me in the college game, but you've had a very good sports weekend.
I'm definitely not complaining. It's been an eventful weekend. It's been a fun weekend. A lot has happened this week. I feel like we've barely spoken.
It's been really busy. We're giving each other show notes of things we need to talk about and don't have any idea what the other person is referencing.
Yeah, I was reading it thinking, I guess this will be a fun conversation.
Yeah, we should probably catch up. We should probably figure out what's going on.
Let's do it.
Because yesterday was Sunday.
And this is the morning after.
Welcome to the Morning After Ministry Show, a caffeine-fueled look back on the week and ministry that was.
Well, we're terribly sorry. City Lights Church says, not a victory for me with CD Lamb and fantasy. Not the Cowboys' day. It's okay.
No, it was not there anyway. And so I won my fantasy game, but almost more importantly, my son Luke lost his. So he was playing Brad, our worship leader, and I texted Brad on Saturday night and said, Brad, listen, right now you've got Jaden Daniels starting. He's not playing. My kid does not need any more bragging rights in the house. Can you please make sure you get this taken care of? And Brad stepped up big and beat the pants off of Lukey. And so now
he's been
the three Larson members of the league are me and Liam are 2-1, and Luke is 1-2. So we're good.
I don't know how mine's going to pan out. I'm 30 points ahead, but there's a Monday Night Football game tonight, and there's a couple of big running backs that I'm playing against. So I know this isn't a sports podcast.
But there's not a lot of people watching right now, so we can talk about whatever we want. We're fine.
I mean, we're both sports fans. We're big-time NFL fans. It's been a wild start. The Bucs look like a real football team, like a very real football team. But do they?
Because they've won 3 games by a combined 7 points. So
that's the NFL.
They are one touchdown away from being 0-3.
I believe the slogan is just win, baby. I don't think it matters how or in what fashion or if you came from behind. You just get it done. That's all
just win.
Just win. Andrew, did you win a lot this week in your pastoral ministry duties and your youth ministry duties? I remember calling you on Wednesday asking if you were going to be a real youth pastor, and you're still doing that too.
Timmy, I'm doing all the things, and I was talking to a mom of 2 of my middle schoolers this morning, and just saying it's kind of like one of my favorite things during the week. It's especially come next Wednesday when I won't have to decide between being a youth pastor and watching did we just get a donation? What's going on? What was that?
Continue. I don't know what that was.
Our Patreon.
I went to respond to a text message, and apparently I have hotkeys turned on, so.
Oh, there you go.
So keep going. The share-a-thon is active, so you just keep on sending those donations in. The phones are ringing right now. We'll be answering those all day.
Fantastic. But I was telling the mom of some of my youth group kids that it's really just about one of my favorite hours or so of the week. And now that baseball season is winding down for me, as the Rays are not making the playoffs, I don't have to decide between being an engaged youth pastor and being an engaged Rays fan. So let's keep going. Let's keep doing this thing.
I know, but losing is never fun.
Losing is not fun. I'm a big fan of winning, but that's what we do. Timmy, next week, should we have our buddy Frank back with us?
For those who don't know, you must not be following Frank and Corey on the socials, because they have been keeping us up to date on their travels. They've been on a massive road trip, raising support, raising funds for Cross and Crown Church. I believe they're coming back soon. Hopefully next week we'll have Frankie with us. You and I will be back in the Morning After studio, aka Safety Harbor Community Church Worship Center lobby, which is a beautiful space. It's a beautiful space. And really, I mean, I haven't gotten the full update from Frank yet. I've texted him a few times, made sure they've raised well over $1 billion. They're inching in on $2 billion from what I'm hearing. So they should be able to.
He did say that that's what it's going to cost to launch the church, $2 billion.
Well, he's taking a $1.5 billion salary, so he's gonna need quite. There's a signing bonus too.
Makes sense.
So I haven't heard specifics yet, but excited to hear all about the Cross and Crown
Ready to get the report.
world trip, worldwide global trip. It wasn't global, pretty close though.
Plus, when Frank is here, we start on time. We
weren't. Last week was bad. This week was not so bad.
We get in trouble for goofing off on our own show. It's great. We want him here. We miss him. He needs us to keep us on track. But with him gone, you've been, not quite solo pastoring, but you're stepping up and doing a lot of the things that he's been doing around Lakeview Land.
I guess I should probably get used to it.
Happen?
I mean,
yeah.
Come January,
all that much longer.
Frankie's going really full-time Cross and Crown, so he's not going to be doing the day-to-day Lakeview stuff. So, yeah, these last couple of weeks just been having to fill a very large man's shoes, and not always easy. What are you going to miss
most when he's not there with you?
I'm going to miss a lot of things.
The
hugs. I feel like staff meetings aren't quite the same without Frank, because he always has just, a couple of good Frankie nuggets of wisdom that are like, yep, that was really good.
He's really smart. He's
smart, good with
like
team morale. Yeah. I'm just going to have to get better in a lot of areas. He is.
Frank, if you're listening, what we're saying is we miss you. Please come home.
We do. We hope you find your way back home. It's been a wild week in Lakeview Land. Andrew, we've had architect meetings, we've had modular building meetings, because the building that we want to build is going to take years, plural, to complete. So in the meantime, we have to do something about the ever-growing kids ministry at Lakeview. Great problem. But at some point when families come to drop their kids off at church, they don't want to be told we don't have any more space. Like, that's not a good look. Nor do they want to walk into a classroom where there's absolutely no room in it. Also not a good look.
Are you getting modulars like you used to have? Or are you getting new and modern modulars? I've never had to order modulars personally.
We are getting new and modern modulars that they have said we can actually we can make it look like they belong on your campus. So they're gonna give us a Lakeview style look to them, which I'm excited to see. I've got the first couple of preliminary drawings back. Nothing crazy, but adequate space for kids ministry check-in, nursery, toddlers, a couple of classrooms for elementary age kids. And then what we'll probably have to do as well is utilize the current student center if they want to do like large group worship or something like that. I don't know that modulars will be able to handle a big group setting. So
will there be any soft spots on the floor that you could fall through? Because that was one of my...
So not the portables I went to 4th grade in. I went to portables in 5th grade. They better be nothing like those portables. That's the goal. We don't want them to look like elementary school portables. They need to look and feel like Lakeview Church. So,
do you know what you should have done? You should have bought the Disney Fort Wilderness log cabins when they were
wouldn't that have been awesome?
Selling those.
We could have. That could have worked.
You could have had like a circle of log cabins around the fire pit, and you could have called it Camp Lakeview. That would have been so cool. And then once the new building was done, you could start your own Airbnb business at the Lakeview property.
We also had a follow-up. We had the architect on site who had some really good ideas, and then by the end of the meeting, he realized that a lot of his good ideas weren't really going to work on our property. So then he looks over to the giant open space next to the worship center and says, "We're going to have to build you a new building." And we're like, "Yeah, that's kind of what we figured." Like, we had this idea of blowing out the back of the worship center.
Literally what we've been saying,
Yeah, we were open to Frank. I also hope they smell good. I've been in some smelly portables. We had one idea.
We were just talking about you.
It was going to involve blowing out the back of the worship center and then expanding the student center. It was just a lot of different construction projects all at the same time. I was curious to see how it was going to look, but after the full site walkthrough with the architect, the consensus was it's not going to work, and we would be displaced from our current space for a season, as opposed to look out in the field. You've got several acres of land ready to be built on that could easily house everything we want. And at the same time, we can continue worshiping. And like, how cool would it be to just watch the progress, week to week. And then the transition to the new building will literally be one Sunday we're here, and the next Sunday we're there. There's no drop off in where we have to be worship wise. So
what is the new building going to be just a worship space? Is
All
the
encompassing.
current worship center going to be used for kids space? Are you ever going to have an office at Lakeview that I can come hang out in? What's the plan, Tim? What are you hoping to build?
So the new space is going to be all encompassing. New worship center, new kids ministry, lobby, check-in, discipleship classrooms, offices. It's going to be all encompassing. And then we'll utilize the current student center as the student center. It'll be basically dedicated student center space and no longer, always multi-purpose space, but Todd can really own that space for student ministry. And then our current nursery and kids ministry and classroom spaces will then be transformed into adult discipleship spaces as well. Or one idea is that becomes the new office over there. So either way, we will have offices. We will probably have office hours again at some point, which, for better or for worse, I think sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Collaboration happens best that way. I know you've kind of gotten spoiled and not really having to ever return to office after COVID.
Yeah, no, it has been 5 years of a portable office space where that could be Starbucks, that could be the room that I'm in right now, it could be my kitchen table, or it could be, worship center lobby, student center, nursery, all of the above. I ran all of my premarital counseling sessions last week from the kids ministry space, which is kind of funny because it's a tiny table with like big boy chairs that I bring in. So meeting with couples whose knees go past the table is pretty funny. So I think an actual, space where I can meet with human beings of adult size would be good.
Do you think that you will, how do you think you use your office space? Because here I am in my office. Hang on, I can push the button and make it happen. So here I am in my office.
Oh, I can see everything.
There's a lot of stuff in here, and I use a lot of it, but I also I don't think I write many sermons in here. I study in here, so this is more of a study space than a writing space for me, if that makes any sense.
It does.
What do you think?
Well, City Lights Church with an absolutely gold idea, new idea, City Lights Church South in the old building. So that's one thought. We are trying to figure out what does the current worship center turn into. So there's a lot of ideas. It becomes a true multi-purpose space, and it can be the wedding chapel.
It's a big space, but
it's a big space.
It's not one that could really be partitioned into.
That's the issue, because the ceiling is so high, like partitioning it off would be awkward and weird.
The ceiling is so high, and the fact that it's surrounded by glass.
Yeah.
So there's
we would have to play with
windows or natural dividing spots.
One idea from the architect was even that becomes the new lobby, and you can actually, we somehow are able to attach the buildings, and part of the lobby becomes the current worship center, and instead of the courtyard setup, it's all inside the worship. There's a ton of ideas that
it gets really hot in Florida. I get that.
It does. So having AC and a giant lobby space, and then on the TV screens we could have the worship service rolling. So if there's a need for overflow ever, we have a built-in overflow space right there. So there's a lot of ideas. Really, anything to prevent the dreaded fourth service, which is now being talked about in current group chats that I would rather not mention right now. So we're at 3. That's enough. However, as I texted you yesterday with some statistics from a current elder, the 3 services will be out of room possibly by the end of this year. So,
have you considered buying smaller chairs? That would be cheaper than building a new building.
We've toyed with buying smaller chairs. We've toyed with shaving off half the stage.
And I could fit 2 of my butt on most of those chairs. So
City Lights, this is the question, and there is an answer. Will there be a view of the lake in the new building? Yes. We are Lakeview Church. That is not going away. So ideally, we have a very similar setup, just more space. And we still want to be, we won't be completely surrounded by glass, because one side you'll just look out and see the other building. You don't want to see that. And then depending on how large the kids' ministry space is. depends on how long and how much space we need for kids ministry on the other side. So what it might turn into is the back wall behind the stage
here's
is
what
all
I'm thinking.
glass.
You know that scene in White Christmas? I don't know if you've watched White Christmas every Christmas for 42 years of life like I have.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
At the end where they like lift up the set and the barn doors are open and it's snowing outside? What if you had, you could drop a curtain if you need to,
Yep.
or whatever it is, but then you have some kind of something that can not only be open like with glass, but something that could be open to the outside. Just think of it.
That is definitely a very real possibility, because one thing we discussed with the architect was having usable outdoor space as well and easy access to the building with that outdoor space. So, I mean, barn doors, garage doors, like things that roll up, things of that nature would be intriguing and would really fit the design of Lakeview Church.
I'm very intrigued by how well because like the church that we went and saw a couple weeks ago, they had barn doors to get people out quickly between services. How does that work with air? Like, how well does that seal in air conditioning? Is something that
It's got to be a trade-off.
Yeah,
I think you're just accepting that it might be a little bit warmer at times.
It's not going to be the most efficient room. Yeah.
Yep. I mean, same thing when you're surrounded by glass windows. Like, it's obviously not the most efficient, but the look is cool.
Or if your worship center was built in 1960 and has the aluminum jalousie windows that were originally installed, you're probably not going to have the greatest AC efficiency in there as well.
No, but, there's always that.
Different things.
Andy, how far into the current sermon series are you in now at Safety Harbor?
We just did week 8
Wow.
of the first half of really the first 2/3 of John. So the plan is we're doing 17 weeks. That'll take us through until about Thanksgiving. And then we will take a break for Advent, which starts on November 30th, I believe. And then pick back up at some point in the new year to get us from John chapter 12 to 21. So we're 8 weeks in, and we've gone through the first 4 chapters. We're starting John 5 Sunday.
2 weeks.
Eventually,
2 weeks per chapter is a pretty good pace.
2 weeks per chapter.
That's not bad.
We're hitting everything that way.
Are you trying to time things out so you will be
we're trying
crucifixion, resurrection at Easter?
Yes.
Okay.
We're trying to have the John 21 be the week after Easter. So John 20 will cover the resurrection, and then 21 will be the week after Easter.
I think it's a good plan.
This might end up being the longest series that I've ever done. It'll just be split into 2 parts because we did, I think, 31 or 32 weeks in Acts, and this will be a little bit. This will be right in line with what that is for a shorter book. But it's also really nice knowing what it is that you're preaching next week and next month, and
it's helpful.
So on and so forth. It makes it a lot easier, I think, to write, and you're not having to. I don't want to say gimmicky, but you're not having to find the new hook each and every week, because that's kind of when you're finding the idea for a series. It's like, hey, what's the hook for this? So you have a different hook for each sermon, but you don't have like the series overarching thing for that you have to redo once a month this way. I also like the month-long series. I think that's easier for people to remember. My goal is always, if someone sees like the sermon series graphic 2 years from now, that they could have a 1-sentence summary of whatever that sermon series is.
But I also don't think, like, if you're going through a book of the Bible, no one expects you to finish that in a month. Like, unless you're doing Ruth or Jonah, right? Like, if you're doing a book of the Bible, people are expecting this is going to be months, plural. Right, yeah. You're doing a short epistle or whatever. No. Outside of those exceptions, you're going to be spending a substantial amount of time. But every book of the Bible really does have an overarching theme that you're going to be able to hit on. And that 1-sentence summary, Exodus, we're going to be talking about God's providential hand at work week after week, because we see it in the text week after week.
Yeah.
So there's going to be these reoccurring themes, which as you know, like reoccurring themes can be really helpful for people because we tend to forget things. So saying the same kind of stuff over and over can be really helpful.
I agree.
Ronald says they're doing James. It's going to take all semester. James is a fun one because James is pretty feisty. Yeah. He doesn't really play around. I like it.
I think our James series was called Faith That Works. I was pretty proud
Faith Works.
Of that.
We did Faith Works. It was like the dash, and there was two different fonts there. I think we ripped it from.
I think our
the Village
dash
Church
was that. It was like that was
slash
diagonal.
Yeah,
and it was in between the two.
I think I took that entire graphics package from Chandler and the Village Church because they did this amazing graphics package for their James series. So good.
I think I made mine in Keynote and then put it in a software that made it look a little bit cooler, and then moved those Keynote files into PowerPoint because we take our presentation software very seriously around here.
We wrapped up week 3 of Exodus yesterday, which was Sunday, and
so
you can just kind of feel
verse 10 of chapter 1 yet. How
we are actually. Yes, we have completed chapter 1. We are 10 verses into chapter 2.
There you go.
So
you're good.
I'm very proud of us. It was a lot of fun. I think people are like breathing a sigh of just like relief because I think we've come to appreciate being in books of the Bible. So everyone's like excited about this. I don't know how long the excitement will last, right? Give it like 4 months and people can be like, how much longer is Exodus? I'm like, well, you can read ahead. There's a few more chapters.
Kind of sick of this Moses guy. What else you got?
We also we did something that was a whole lot of fun and really like it was planned, but it was unplanned because we originally had a baby dedication scheduled for yesterday, and then another family reached out and said, "Hey, we're looking to have a baby dedication." And I think I was just like, "Oh, well, we've got one coming up in a couple of months. How does September 21st look for you?" Like that sounds good. And then another family reached out, and then another family. So we had like multiple families that were kind of jumping on board. Unfortunately, one had to drop out last second, baby teething, baby stuff. So they'll be October 12th. But we ended up having 2 or 3 families, and we were able to. Then we did something we've never done before. Typically, I just let the family choose which service because I don't. Look, I'm all for identical services, but I'm not asking a family to stay for 3 services, so 3 different times they can do a dedication. Like that's just not something we're doing. So I asked the families, which service works best for you for the dedication. So we had 1 dedication at the 9:30. Then we had 2 dedications. Well, it was more than 2, but it was 2 families. 2 families at the 11 a.m. service. So it was really sweet. For me and my notes purposes, it was tricky because I didn't want to say the wrong family at the wrong service. So really thankful for our kids ministry and nursery coordinator. They were like tag teaming this for me, making sure I had all the names in the right order and the families in the right order. And Bree, our kids ministry director, was texting me like mid-service, like, "Hey, so-and-so's here." Because I was looking around, I was like, I think I see all the, because like when you get to this many families, you're like, I hope nobody forgot. I texted them the day before. Thankfully, Bree was like right in on it. I'm like, that's really helpful. Normally in the past, it's just been me coordinating these things. And that's probably like those days are probably over of just me coordinating. So now having Brianne and Nicole, our kids ministry and nursery director, like helping out in this area. And then like we get to bring them on stage as well, which is new for us. So they come on stage, they do a little gift for each family, and they join in the prayer over the family.
What do you give the families? This is such an odd thing, but in the state of Florida, a baptism certificate is a legal form of ID.
I know.
So like if
How
you
weird
go
is that? It's so weird.
It's one of those weird, but so a baptism certificate, yes. A baby dedication certificate, no, does not count. So
Doesn't
it's just
exist.
do you do a certificate? Do you do like a plaquey thing? I know
we've done certificates, we've done plaquey things. Now we're doing a gift, but I don't even know what was in the gift this time. I think Bree and Nicole come up with the gift for each family. And
so probably not like a $5 Starbucks gift card.
I don't think so. It's probably a bit more spiritual than that. Oh, Andy. But it was a ton of fun. You'll also notice when you have these Sundays and you plan them out 2 to 3 months out, they then reach out to their family members and friends. So, Andrew, there was a lot of people there that you would have known because they were very much active at a church that you and I both worked at one point. So
That's exciting.
it was fun seeing a lot of people that I haven't seen since I was at said church, and lots of fun stories to talk about too. Pete says this one was, oh, that's cool, an epoxy cross and a Bible. So sweet, sweet little gift for the families. And we get to honor them, bring them on stage, pray over them. And I think the congregation loves seeing, new life. And then they love staying in service too. So there was a lot of babies in service. So I got to kind of, that's part of the stick. Like when you're preaching and you hear babies chattering, like you can acknowledge it and it's funny. So you kind of get, and they always chime in at the worst possible moment, which is like
Beautifully.
it just kind of it relieves the tension. It's perfect. So that made for some really fun services.
Similar vein, I get to the fellowship hall after service yesterday, which was Sunday, because we do the post-church eating together thing as a church family. But our fellowship hall is the space that our Harbor Kids ministry uses during the service. So we have our kids elementary in with us for the first couple songs, announcements, call to worship. If it's a communion Sunday, they'll be in for that, so that each family can kind of decide how they want to treat communion. And then they go and have their Sunday school time. So I get in there, and I had been doing something between getting in there, and so I wasn't in there as soon as I usually am. But our kids person comes up to me and said, "So we had something happen in Sunday school. They're going through Acts in the Sunday school curriculum that they're using, and they were talking about Lydia, and they got talking, and we have 8 kids. Again, we're not a giant church. I think we had 14 kids in kids ministry across preschool, nursery, and elementary Sunday school. And a group of 8 of them decided that they all wanted to get baptized together in the next couple of weeks. And so I was like, oh, awesome. But we should probably have some conversations with parents. So our kids director, Brittany, was like super excited, as you would be if your Sunday school lesson has 8 kids who now want to be baptized together. And so we're trying to get that. And so I was on the phone with the mom right before you and I got started today, and the kids come with grandma because mom works on Sundays, and so just kind of getting to build that bridge there and talk about, hey, what does it look like? What is it that my kid is committing to? And then so from I think like 3rd grade to 6th grade, this group of 8 kids, that this spontaneous thing, not it wasn't planned. It wasn't, hey, we're doing a big baptism Sunday. It was a couple of kids in Sunday school asking questions, and then all coming to the conclusion, and probably a bit of the peer pressure that comes with that, saying we should do this, and we're all doing it together. And so there were 8 of them, and then there were a few that weren't in Sunday school that, well, I haven't been baptized yet either. Maybe if you guys are doing it here, I didn't want to be the only one on a Sunday. So now I don't know what we're going to do. At some point, probably in October, we're going to have the biggest baptism Sunday in the history of our church. And so then the debate was, well, do we try to do this like as a big extra event, go to a pool, turn it into a party kind of thing? But then to echo what you were saying, I was like, no, I think we have people in their 70s and 80s. We have grandparents. We have people that probably wouldn't or couldn't come to an extra church activity, that we want them to see what God is doing in the lives of the kids. And so let's, we'll have a shorter sermon that day, because it's going to be, 10 baptisms in a service takes a long time. But it's pretty cool when you have an organic move of the Spirit responded to by, between 9 and 12-year-olds saying, yeah, I'm in on this. So that's going to be exciting. But again, there's a lot of families I'm going to have some talks with.
So 2 follow-up questions. I guess one's more of a statement. There is something really special about celebrating moments with families together. So I think having the baptisms in service, especially if you only have one service, like, we have multiple services, so we can't do baptisms in service anymore. But if you only have one service, like, you need to take advantage of that, and that's a really sweet time to do it. Now, the other question is, at what age would you say is appropriate for kids to make this decision on baptism? So a parent just reached out to me, and I have my answer for that, but I'm curious. So now that you have all these kids, like, we want to get baptized, what is your process with looping in the parents on this?
So I don't think there's anybody, maybe 15 or 16, I wouldn't feel like I needed to talk to a parent. If a kid is, coming to church on their own, that's one thing. But I was telling this mom who I was talking to today, with my boys, the three older boys were all in middle school when they got baptized. So I think one sixth grade to seventh grade for my boys, and some of that has to do with their own personal maturity, but also just in general. I think, what's going on, Busby? Good to see you, buddy. Uh, I think that's one of those. I think middle school makes a lot of sense for a kid or a young adult to publicly profess their faith. But my third grader is one of these kids who's wanting to be baptized. And so I was telling this mom, for him, yeah, I think that's a little bit different thing. If it's a kind of a standalone one, then I think maybe, 10, 11, 12 makes sense. He's 9, but has 3 older brothers and gets it. So I don't think there's necessarily a magical age. However, in general, I like the idea of middle school because I think you have, you're a little bit more able to articulate what it is that you're doing at that point. And I think being able to articulate what you're doing is the main. I'm running out of words.
Yeah, no,
I
I'm with
think
you.
being
I'm
able to
with you.
articulate
We're the same
what
way.
and why it is that you want to be baptized is the main barrier that a kid needs to be able to cross. But in general, I typically would say, 5th grade, 6th grade, but in this situation, I'm happy to have conversations and make some exceptions.
What I
And for my
told
own family.
what I told this mom was I typically defer to the parents. If the parents have told me,
Mm.
"Hey Tim, we've had this conversation at home. They know what they're doing. They know that Jesus has saved them and he's changed their life, and they know that they're ready to make this public statement of, "Hey, I'm a follower of Jesus and I want to follow in the ordinance of baptism." Obviously not going to know what that word means, but they know that they want to tell the world that they're
The
a
ordinance
Jesus
of
follower.
baptism or the sacrament of baptism, Tim, which is it?
Ooh, we practice
Which I would
two
say yes.
sacraments, right? Yeah. Oh, and we'll city lights. We'll come back to you in a second. So I have deferred to parents, but I also like to have a conversation with the parents and the child. So I try to do both of those things, where I'll have a conversation with the parent, they have the chat with the child. Yep, they're ready, and I'm like, great. Can we all talk together? And then I like to hear the child kind of articulate what it is they think they're doing and why they're doing that thing. I don't really I don't try to put any gates or walls up. I just want to have that conversation to make sure they understand, the decision that's being made when it comes to baptism. So we have baptized probably as young as 7 years old. I think middle school is a really sweet spot. And at our last baptism service, we baptized an 80-year-old. So I don't, I'm good either way. So, all right, City Lights with the theological question. As a pastor who leans more Anglican, what are your guys' arguments against infant baptism?
I don't have one.
I'm not against infant baptism. I do, as a church, we practiced baby dedications. We also practice believers baptism at Lakeview, meaning we baptize people who have professed Jesus as Lord and Savior. Do you guys have anything in writing about that?
Just what the Covenant Church states. So as someone who's in a denomination that is probably unique across most of evangelicalism, we will practice either or. I think we have a more reformed or covenant understanding of what is. And so this mom who I was talking to today grew up very, very Catholic. And so she was talking about washing away original sin. And I was like, no, this is not washing away anything. That's not our understanding of baptism. It is rather a public identity with Jesus. But then the analogy that I always go to is that when my wife and I got engaged, I gave her an engagement ring, which was an external sign of a commitment that had not yet been made, but we fully intended on it being made. And then when we got married, I got a wedding ring, which is not this one because I've lost my wedding ring like 8 times, and this one's rubber and cheap from Amazon. But that's kind of the analogy that I use, is that one is a sign of what we believe God is going to do and what this child is going to respond to. And yes, a child who has been baptized could turn out to be an axe murderer or a heretic or whatever else, just as a child who was brought into the nation of Israel in the Old Testament and was given the sign of circumcision could have been apostate in his faith and abandoned the faith. But it is a sign of what we think God is doing and is going to do in this child's life. And then baptism by immersion, or a believer's baptism, is a sign of what God has done in that person's life. So I am perfectly comfortable with either. For my family and my kids, they were baptized by immersion, again, middle school for the 3 older boys. But I also grew up very, very Baptistic, and it makes sense. And I also, again, don't have an argument against an infant baptism. I have an argument for believer's baptism. And when you read the book of Acts, that's what you see. You could argue that's what you see every time. Again, those are people converting from different faith systems, and so it's not someone who is brought into the faith. The analogy of the church in Israel, I think, carries over importantly when you're talking about covenant theology. So again, I am perfectly comfortable with a right understanding of either way. If you think that it's washing away original sin or bringing somebody into the church, I don't think that's right. But I think kind of a hybrid view of the baby dedication and we're bringing this person into God's covenant people, then yes, absolutely, we will practice that and we will honor that. Or if you want to dedicate a child and then when the child receives Christ, then have them baptized that way. I am comfortable with any and all ways because people much smarter than me have disagreed about this for millennia. So
we're not going to solve it.
I don't think I'm going to get it figured out.
Not going to solve it, but I'm with you. One thing we do that we make really, really clear before we do a baptism or a dedication, that we make sure it's known that it is not the dedication or the baptism that saves you, right? It's only Jesus that can do that. Mm-hmm. So I think anytime we get that confused and we think that, hey, if I baptize this baby, they're automatically going to heaven, like that's when I'm like I just have a tough time, following that. And then, the Great Commission, I think, pretty clear, making disciples, baptizing them, teaching them. You could argue there's an order there.
There's an order there, yeah.
Like you said, I'm not going to die on that hill. I think it's a secondary issue. I don't think it's a primary thing. I think there's freedom there from church to practice different things. So I'm good either way.
So let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. At Lakeview, is you guys, there's things changing there which we haven't talked about here.
Sure.
But when it comes to membership at Lakeview Church, if someone was baptized as an infant, are they eligible for membership at Lakeview Church, or do they need to have been baptized as a believer?
Yeah, we've made this change already. We request that you get baptized as a believer. And we make it as easy as possible. What we've been doing is we've been lining up baptism Sundays the week after membership class. So if anybody comes to us and is like, hey, I was baptized as an infant, I know you guys practice believer's baptism, can I still become a member? I'm like, yeah, why don't you get baptized next week? And like 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10 are like, sounds great, love it. So then they just get baptized as a believer the following Sunday usually.
Let me ask. So, let me take that one step further. Let's say someone has been baptized as a believer, but the mode or method of baptism was different, whether that be pouring, sprinkling, or whatever. Do you care?
I don't care.
Not do you care, but if someone was baptized, by sprinkling or by having pouring.
You saw in the photos from a few weeks ago. We had a lady who was unable to get into the tank. She said, "Would you be able to just dunk a bucket of water on my head?" I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we did that. That was fine. I'm not.
I feel like a full bucket is a bit much. I mean, I don't know. I get someone not being able to get into the tank, but I think, again,
she seemed to like it.
Maybe I think a whole bucket is a bit much. What bucket did you use? Did you go to?
I don't know because
Home Depot and get the big orange bucket?
it was our facilities guy, and I was like, hey man, it was like kind of like last second. I was like, guys, she can't get in. Do you have anything for me? They just they found something on campus, and it had a handle. It was easy to dip and then to dunk to pour. So
it's a good thing you've been doing your curls.
It's a good thing I've been doing the curls for sure. Look at that, City Lights Church coming in clutch with the theological discussion. Andrew, I've got a question because it looks noticeably brighter in your office. Is there a reason for that?
Well, I mean, I have my lights on, but Timmy, we've had some facility changes happen around here.
I see.
And there's been a big oak tree right outside of my office window for as long as this building has existed, which is 1978 for this part of the building. And I knew that we had an arborist look at it, and we got the city signing off on, hey, it's too close to the building and it's causing structural issues. Tim, I don't know how often you guys are having trees downed at Lakeview these days, because you don't have a lot of trees super close to your building, whereas we had a bunch of oaks like right up against ours. This was the best tree company ever. They came out on Saturday because we've got the preschool here and they didn't want to do it here, but they pulled out this tree and another giant tree back in our playground area. And by Sunday morning, the stumps were ground, everything was gone. So, I mean, stump grinding in and of itself is $1 trillion typically. And these guys were cheaper to cut the trees and pull the stumps than anybody else gave us a bid for just the tree removal. And they did it all in a day. And so my office, I got in here yesterday morning to do a final sermon read through. And I was like, oh, apparently I don't need lights on in here anymore, because the tree that kind of filtered the light always is now gone. So now we got to figure out, all right, what do we put there? We've got our gas line to our fellowship hall, because we've got the stoves and the oven and stuff in there. And so now that's kind of exposed. So we're trying to figure out what to put there that's going to be beautiful and fill up the space, but also not clog up drain pipes, cause flooding on our flat roof, or have roots that go into the foundation. But I didn't think a tree coming down was going to make a difference in my office, because again, my office is inside and trees are outside. But good grief, it was a very noticeable difference in here from the minute I walked in yesterday. So
we had,
very grateful
as you
for
know,
facilities people handling things.
2 giant oak trees that were relatively close to the building a few years ago. One of them got struck by lightning and died, so we had to have a company come out and pay a lot of money. It was a giant oak tree, and it did take quite a bit of time.
They're really not cheap to have trees come out.
Thousands.
And it's not because the tree companies are trying to rip us off, but because
it's a lot of work.
The tree companies have the most extensive insurance of any company on the planet, because if they drop a 2,000-pound tree trunk on your roof,
it's bad.
That's not good.
So then the second oak tree, which was right outside the student center, it toppled over during the hurricane last year, during a hurricane, one of the several that hit us. And we opted not to get a tree service, and we kind of put the word out. Look, we had a lot of guys show up.
You had a dudes with chainsaw party.
We had a lot of chainsaws. Someone ended up renting a stump grinder. It was wild. And then we were attaching trailers. Because if you remember, we had a debris site about a mile away from the church property. So the county said, yeah, you can come dump off whatever debris you want. We're like, we got a tree. And like, yeah, that works. So we chopped it up Dexter style and took it piece by piece to the county dump site. So that worked out well. But that was a lot cheaper.
An 800-year-old tree, and it was
easily.
The circumference of the trunk was easily 6 or 7 feet, maybe up to 10. But also, it had the water oaks that you see with the big branches that go 2 feet above the ground, then scoop back up. This thing was huge. But
Bree says more room for modulars.
Right where the modulars are going to go.
So now, and the county asked us, hey, what happened to the giant oak trees? And we told them the Lord decided it was time for them to come home. So yeah, when I say upended, it was on its side with the roots sticking up in the air. That's how. So
that's why I was asking about the stump grinder. What did you have to?
You're right.
Did you have to grind?
I don't think there was much left. I think we might have rented the stump grinder for the first one.
onto. Yeah.
Yeah. One of our friends of a member had a lot of really big boy toys that he brought over, and the guy, I didn't know what we were doing. I was just like, "Don't
Did you
die."
get any pictures of anybody standing next to the
I
upturned
did.
roots?
I did. I've got
Because,
photos. I've got photo evidence of all the things. So yeah, the
well,
county was
it's
like,
probably
"What's
going
going
to be
on? How could you put modulars here? There's two giant oak trees." So there was a little bit of a discussion there, back and forth between the county and us, because we can't technically prove it. Like
yeah.
we didn't like report it. It was just the trees were
Joy
down.
of
We
a
had to get
hurricane.
rid of them. Yeah,
So when
but
we
they
were
weren't they
building my
weren't
parents'
thrilled.
house in my yard, um, again, we had not had a site survey done because the only ownership transfer of our house has been all within my family. So my wife's grandparents were the original owners of our house, then my wife's dad, then us. And so there had never been a site survey. And so when they were building, they knew they had to pull out a bunch of trees. And my dad insisted on, hey, let's get a tree survey done. But then they went and they pulled all the trees out right after. I was like, why in the world would you do that? So I want to say it was like a $25,000 fine from the county because of the amount of
They don't
trees
play
that we
around.
had to pull out.
Yep,
It's a ridiculous thing.
it's
So
bad.
every time a hurricane comes, you need to chop down whatever you can. I mean, these were
Yep,
expensive to have removed, but again, the city of Safety Harbor has an arborist just because of tree removal in Safety Harbor alone. It's a full-time job of somebody approving what trees can and can't be pulled out within the city. And by the grace of God, these were not trees that we had to pay a fine to remove. But yeah,
it's work.
it's a big thing. But you also had pictures of, yeah, here's what happened to those trees.
Yeah, if
If a
they
tree
were to
is up on
really
its
come back
side,
at us, yeah, we do have
you can't.
photographic evidence of all of the things. So I'm not
You're,
terribly
you're
worried
coming
about
up on the year anniversary of the hurricanes. You could post a throwback picture here in a couple of weeks of, hey guys,
It's a good
remember when we
idea.
did this?
It was a
Because
fun day.
Tim, I don't want to say it. We might not have any hurricanes this year.
Why would you say that?
Let's
Why would you
let's
say
hope,
that?
and because we're almost to October, we're not going to have one by October the way that things are in the tropics right now.
But October is Gulf of America heavy.
That's true. The hurricanes that form in the Gulf form in October, but I think
Thankfully, all of our Atlantic
all the ones
waves have been just pushed out. Nothing's come close.
I think we're going to be safe this year. You're not going to have to
just-
get another new roof.
I
You'll just
really
continue to pay for the one that you lost last year.
my payments on my roof start in December, so thank you for that reminder. It's been a whole year of a new roof with no payments.
I'm sorry, buddy, but
It's okay.
just think of all the value that new roof added. Absolutely nothing. Absolutely
Not going
nothing.
anywhere. I'm not planning on moving. All those job offers from those random churches in the Northeast. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good, buddy. Do you ever get
Churches
those
are
like random
Yes,
search teams?
I get so
I
many of those.
respond to all of them. I try to be as kind and as gracious as possible. But I'm good. Like I'm really good at Lakeview. I don't like the thought of moving to the Northeast or the Midwest. That just doesn't really. It just does. There's no appeal there.
I really like my job.
Yeah.
I feel uniquely suited to be the solo pastor of this size church in my hometown. Like I don't know of anybody else who has more of the city and the church DNA just naturally built into him than I do. So I'm not trying to be that guy. I don't think anybody else could pastor this church better than me. But I mean, if you were to custom create a church for me, it would be this one. I like my job. I'm good. I don't need
City
to go
Light says,
anywhere
"Fine,
else.
guys, I will stop asking." City Lights. I thought we were doing City Light South in the current worship center after the new building goes
You
in.
were planting the South Campus, but maybe he needs you to come up to Scranton so that he can come down here. Because,
But if we
again,
wanted to
like
have
we
a
said last
more
week,
liturgical option on site, I mean, City Lights would be the go-to. Like, there's no other way, right?
I think it makes a lot of sense. I was going to ask you when we were talking about the sermon series, since you are in Exodus, really you'll take a break for Advent, I'm assuming.
there's a chance we will be in Exodus until the new building is complete. Like this could be 2 to 3 years. Like not even joking.
But will you take a break for Advent and
Yep.
Easter?
Yep.
But
yep. So we'll still have a seasonal calendar with Advent, Easter, and we'll probably like take July or something like that, where it's just like a random summer month, and then back into it.
Attendance is low anyway, so that way people don't have to catch up on the podcast.
Right.
What is your order of service these days? Now that you've switched to video announcement, so is it a video announcement hits play at 9:30 for the?
Nope. Video, I'll walk you through it. The video announcements is during the countdown video. So we've got a 5-minute countdown video. So for the 9:30 service example, at 9:25 the 5-minute countdown starts. And typically,
so if you
video
show
announcements,
up on time, you're late.
If you show up on time, you've missed the announcements. So at 9:25 the countdown's rolling. Usually at like 9:27, the announcements aren't that long. They're normally 2 to 3 minutes long. So you've got your scrolling announcements during the countdown video, and then when there's like 2 or 3 minutes left on the video, our talking head of the week, which is either Matt Auger or Kate Bolliard, who's been doing a lot of our video announcements. They'll come on and they'll do their thing, and then we'll roll right into the worship set. So we had this past Sunday, we had a 4-song worship set. So it was every bit of 25 minutes of singing. And then we had baby dedications. So we actually had a video bumper in between the end of the worship set and into the baby dedication. Little video that, promoted all things babies. And then after the baby dedications, we've got a 30-minute sermon bumper video. 30-second sermon bumper. So that's enough. So we were actually really tight on time this week because my sermon for Exodus 2 was 3,800 words, which 3,300 is usually a bit more of a sweet spot. So it's probably 500 words long, but we ended right on time. So we ended right at I think the service went 60 to 65 minutes. That's kind of the sweet spot. And I know I heard from some people that the parking lot was feeling it in between second and third. So we just have to keep an eye on that. I mean, 60 minutes is probably more ideal to make sure we have time to clear out the parking lot and get people into the next service. So that's that. And then after the
extended prayer time.
At the end of every service, we have a time of prayer, and that's usually about 5 to 7 minutes. So that is guided prayer. There's prayer prompts on the screen.
The band does not come back up at
no,
the end of the
no
service?
band. There's like a light pad playing in the background, so it's not just awkwardly silent for 5 minutes. And then I'll close out the prayer time and go right into the benediction. So that is the typical service. It will vary if we have a missions moment, if we have a baby dedication, if we have a scripture reading. If there's nothing else happening, Frank will read the text before it's preached to kind of set up the sermon. But if we have a lot of things happening in the service, then that aspect doesn't happen that week. And then what I'll also do up front of the sermon, if there is a major announcement that I know it needs to be hit on because everybody was in the room when the video was rolling, I will reiterate that. Like, hey guys, we've got Missions Weekend coming up in 2 weeks. Like things like that I'll just build into the first 150 words of the sermon.
See, we start with a call to worship each and every week, and I'm debating a couple things. Trying to think ahead into the new year. Do we? And it's just a 1 or 2 verses, quick devotional thought to then call us to worship, and then prayer and into the worship set, and then announcements are with that as well. But one thing that I try to do. The reason I was asking, just with you in such a long series for such a long time, I try to have the call to worship be from a different type of scripture than what the sermon series is in. And so while we're in John for at least 28 weeks, probably going to be closer to 35, I won't have the call to worship be from a gospel text. And so then it's okay. So do I want to find it from Psalm or from a poem, or lots of calls to worship from Isaiah? But then if you're in, I don't know that I do many calls to worship from Exodus or anything.
Not a lot.
So that would make it easier. But if you're not having that set of a service order where you're needing to bounce around to different places.
Ooh, this is interesting. Jake says, I learned from a search guy that it's mostly AI driven now, and it pulls info from your church online socials to create new leads. Fastest way to stop them is reply. Here's the thing. I reply to all of them. There's never one that I don't reply to because I don't want them to think that there's, like they have to follow up with me again. Yeah. So I reply to all of them. Well, I might be that, but I do reply. I try to pride myself in replying to any and all emails that aren't ridiculous. So
sometimes we get ridiculous emails.
And sometimes it's fun to reply to those, and I'm like, probably shouldn't have replied. Like, that's going to come back.
I'm a big fan of replying to the ridiculous ones, if we're being honest.
I know. I do reply to basically every email, but.
Well, Timmy, it's afternoon. I know you have to eat your 7th meal of the day because you got to get your protein up.
I'm hungry. I'm hungry.
One thing I want to hit on as we are about to start a new month, and I like to give you as much crap as I can about still using the Jesus Lunchables for communion.
Yeah.
We're talking about kids and baby dedication and baptisms. I want to talk about kids and communion at some point in the next couple of weeks because I've had different pastors that I've served under who had very, very different opinions on the subject, and
things got heated.
I want to talk about it, Tim. So we should think about it in the next couple of weeks.
We should get Sea churches. We need to get their opinion as well.
Conversation. Yeah.
All right.
I think it's an important thing to discuss, Tim.
We should talk about it. We should talk about all that and more next week on the Morning After Ministry Show.
Monday, about 11 o'clock-ish in the morning.
Maybe we'll be together.
That means we get to get lunch afterwards. We get to hang out and be friends.
It's been a while.
Tim, I got to say, when we're really busy and we don't talk much during the week, we can do an hour-long podcast and still have stuff left to say. So that's something.
It's much easier.
It is. Hey,
Well,
I'll see
folks,
you next week.
I miss you already. Talk soon.